It was a great second period for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now they just have to get it done in the other two. We'll talk about all things Lightning Wild and preview the rest of the homestand on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the podcast for you. Josh Sperber here on Locked On Lightning after a 4-2 loss that saw Tampa surrender their first empty net goal of the season as the Minnesota Wild took their fourth straight win after dropping the first two games of the season in overtime. Tampa let up a goal in the first, let up one in the second, and two in the third, including that empty netter. But a shorthanded goal for Brandon Hagel, marking his 300th career NHL game, was one of the highlights. And this was just a game that the Lightning got more shots off, which is something that, frankly, we've come to expect from Lightning's high-powered offense. But if the opposing team can match and capitalize on chances with fewer shots, then that's just going to make it tough sledding for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that was what happened. The Minnesota Wild had just 18 shots, the Tampa's 25, but were better in every other aspect of the game. 4 power plays to just 1 in favor of Minnesota, more hits, more blocked shots, and a higher faceoff percentage, as well as one of those 4 goals for Minnesota, a power play goal from Matt Boldy, turning into the game winner. So the Lightning do get a big plus in that shorthanded goal from Hagel, but it just still seems like the Lightning have not been able to keep up the form that had them start off the season with a 3-0 record. And the Lightning have dropped their last couple of games, save for the 8-5 win over the New Jersey Devils, but they have lost 3 of their last 4 heading into a showdown with Alexander Ovechkin and the Capitals. So, I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, it's certainly not time to panic just yet, even if Andrei Vasilevskiy is in a bit of a slump right now. But it's not like all those goals were his fault. There were definitely a couple, particularly that first goal from Minnesota, where you just didn't see the defense close down as tightly in the zone. It was a cross-ice pass, which is always going to be difficult for a goalie. But when that pass goes completely uninterrupted to the man across the ice, 8 times out of 10 probably that shot is going to go in, and that is how the Wild got their first goal of the game. And the Lightning have shown the ability to battle back because in just about every one of their games this season, they have been the team that surrendered the first goal. And they've really had to play on their heels for most of it. The only game that really I can think of where the Lightning weren't playing from behind in one way or another was the second half of that Devils game, but also of that 4-1 win against Vancouver where they scored within the first 5 minutes of the game. And that's the kind of energy that I just want to see more from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just starting off strong, coming out of the box aggressive, because defense is a concern for this team. I think that has been made clear by the last couple of games since Tampa's opening season 2-game homestand. So this is a team that's going to have to rely on its offense primarily to win games. They're not going to, it doesn't look like they're going to get into a lot of those, little 1-goal battles and, 1-0 shutout wins aren't going to come as easily if the defense is not going to do their part. But the offense has not really been a problem. There were certainly a couple other goals that would have changed the scope of the game, particularly Conor Geekie's one-timer that hit off the post, beating Minnesota's goalie, but just hitting off the top of the crossbar and rimming out. And that would have really swung the momentum more in Tampa's favor, though shortly after that, Nikita Kucherov ended up scoring the go-ahead goal, but then the Wild scored the next 3 unanswered. And You'd just like to see that kind of aggression from Conor Geekie. He was just waiting for that one-timer, and he beat the goalie with it, but it just missed for him turning in his first career NHL goal on home ice. And there's still a chance for him to do that against the Capitals, maybe on that Lightning second line, where he has really looked great since making the move up um, within the last couple of days. So you like to see that from Geeky, and it really does seem like he's getting the hang of things and just figuring out how to be a pro hockey player. And I think it's really just only a matter of time that Conor Geekie just makes the star turn. It might not happen this season, but everything I've seen from him tells me that he can be a legitimate threat on the offensive side for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think that he really should stay on that second line, and Tampa should just maximize his playing time, because it seems like the more time he's on the ice, the more that things just click for him, the more that he just kind of gets it and just, helps the Lightning get the job done. So I think Conor Geekie staying on that second line, that experiment has already proved to be fruitful, and there's only been 1 point to show for it. You can't have an almost goal count. But, he's getting in there. He's starting to get involved in some of those scoring chances is Conor Geekie. And that is a really, really big time takeaway. Other takeaways from this game for the Lightning is just Anthony Cirelli continuing to create scoring chances. I mean, that Hagel assist, he was just swarmed by that assist to Hagel, I should say. He was just swarmed by defenders. And I still don't really know how he was able to keep control of that puck and kick it out to an open and streaking Hagel for a shorthanded goal. I mean, a shorthanded goal by itself is not easy to do, but Anthony Cirelli has made just leaps and bounds for Tampa as a passer, and he currently leads the Lightning with 7 assists on the season, tied for second with Hagel and Hedman with 8 points on the season so far. So, I mean, he is someone that, has always been a solid piece. And, he'd always been an asset on offense, but I mean, he's starting off the season as an unprecedented rate. And I think, having Cirelli there with Hagel and Conor Geekie, both of who can be just dangerous scorers, I think is part of what is making that second line so successful. You just have a bunch of guys who just seem to really click well. And Geekie, it's typically a center playing on the right side, has clearly worked. That strong lefty stick, powerful shot. I mean, that's the kind of the players that you want on the right side. So it might be a bit of an adjustment for Geekie, but I certainly think that it's worthy, and that it was a good idea for the Lightning to really push him as much as they have. I mean, I'm usually someone, when it comes to minor leagues in any sport, to, err on the side of caution, particularly with a blue chip prospect like Conor Geekie, particularly with a guy who, is in a lot of ways could be the future of the Lightning franchise. I mean, usually I'd be cautious, and I know it's something I said a lot in the preseason, and, the stats haven't showed, still just 1 assist so far through the first 6 games, but he's making an impact on the ice, and he is showing other NHL players that he is here. He can be an asset to a team at this young of an age. And I really only expect more positive growth from Conor Geekie. I think moving him up a line and putting him on that second line can only mean better things for Conor. And I just expect that to continue. And of course, another takeaway is just Nikita Kucherov continues to impress, not just with the fact that he's scored at least a point in, I think, every game of the season so far, already among the NHL leaders in all offensive categories, pretty much. I mean, he is just still such a dominant player, and, he's got to be in the conversation for one of the best offensive players in the league. And I think that just becomes clearer and clearer because it seems like every goal that Kucherov scores, every assist that he makes, they all just come at key moments for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they're going to continue to lean on him. But, you need to have some of those other first-line guys step up a bit more in big moments. I mean, Gensel and Point have still been solid this season, but it could be just them getting overshadowed by Kucherov, and it's just Kucherov who has the puck in his stick more, and he has been a lot more aggressive shooting this year as opposed to last year. But I still want to see more from the rest of that first line because it's for the most part become the Nikita Kucherov show. And, Gensel and Point are elite players. I mean, they're two of the better offensive players in the NHL. And, you just need to see more from them. And when it's Kucherov carrying that first line, that is something that needs to be rectified. So I'd like to see in that Saturday game against the Capitals, though, Gensel and Point get a bit more involved in the offense because last night against Minnesota, they were held very much in check. But there are still some positives. We talked about Conor Geekie switching lines and immediately that move paying off. I don't know if there's going to be another line switch just because of how great the second line is played, but there's another player that might benefit from a bump up in lines. We'll talk about that when we return here on Locked On Lightning. Prize Picks is a unique daily fantasy app and one of the best to maximize the amount of money you get and minimize the amount of picks you need to get to make that money. And you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including the great state of Florida. It is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, then Prize Picks will keep your lineup live. You could sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to get the bonus. The $50 bonus is guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like on Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So download the Locked On Lightning app today, or download the Prize Picks app today, and use code Locked On NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is Locked On NHL. You can see it down below, and you can use that code once you download the Prize Picks app to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And I recently had the pleasure of getting an introductory appointment at the joint. And once I get more time, I'm going to have to go back because they were so helpful to me when I went up there a couple weeks ago. There are 23 locations in the Tampa Bay area, all filled with professionals who can, see where you get your pain and then tell you how to fix it. I'm still using that stretching program that I got from the joint, and it is working great. My back is already feeling a whole lot better. So make sure to get your first visit for $19 when you go to Buccaneers.com, fans, contests, and promotions. Make sure to check out one of the joint's 23 Tampa area locations. Welcome back into Locked On Lightning, and the Lightning made a move. Now, not a roster move, but they just moved Conor Geekie up from line 3 to line 2. That began at the beginning of the week. Now, is there another Lightning player that could switch lines? I think yes. Now, again, I don't want to start talking like the Lightning need to make a lot more line changes. I don't think that's going to solve the issues that they've had, but there are still there's still another player that I think would benefit from going up to that line, and it's Mikey Eyssimont. He is someone who started off the season injured and has stayed on a third line that honestly, like I just don't think they've done all that much. It's usually been a combination of Geekie, Gergensons, and Eyssimont on that third line. Nick Paul, Cam Atkinson. I mean, it's just been kind of a rotating wheel on the Lightning's third line. And if there is going to be another Lightning player that I think can get bumped up, it's going to be Mikey Eyssimont. He's just someone that hasn't put anything on the stat sheet. He's just 4 shots on the season, and it's not like for lack of trying. He is a really quick skater, and I think that is just any kind of benefit. I just would like to see more of him. And I don't think that any more lines are going to be switching. I think that second line really seems to be clicking right now, and Conor Geekie adding to it is only going to improve his game, and I think be just a big asset to the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think that, if there's another need to switch things around, put Geekie back on the third line and bring Eyssimont up to the second. Now, that could be tricky because Eyssimont and Brandon Hagel are both primary left wings. And Hagel shouldn't go anywhere. He, if anything, put him up on the first line maybe. I mean, he's just been that good to start this season. But I just think Eyssimont might benefit from getting a bigger run with some of the players kind of higher up on the depth chart. And I just think it's something that the Lightning could benefit from. I mean, they made the switch up to Geekie to really see what he's got. And Eyssimont is another guy, again, not as much of a prospect as Geekie is. He did have some NHL experience before this season, but, as much love as Eyssimont gets from the Lightning fans, and well-deserved because he's a really solid player, he's only been with the Lightning 3 years, and he has barely played 100 games with Tampa. He broke that mark after getting in, a couple games at a time with Winnipeg and San Jose. He's 28 now. And, I think he can be used as more than just kind of a complimentary winger like he has been on that left side. And I think that his quick skating and his solid vision on the ice can be put to better use if you put him with guys like Hagel and Cirelli, or maybe even move things around in the first line, which, again, that I don't think is changing anytime soon. But I think Mikey Eyssimont is someone that I just want to see more from. I think that he's a talented player, and I think if he gets more minutes, we might be able to see just more playmaking ability, because that speed can really help him as a playmaker. It can help, frustrate defenses and get him and his teammates into positions to make things happen for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It'll make the breaks quicker. It'll make the transitions quicker for Tampa. I think it's just a lot that can benefit from Mikey Eyssimont getting up to that line. And I think it's going to be a couple of games that we're going to keep Conor Geekie on this second line. He's been there the last 2. I expect to see the same thing during tomorrow's game against Washington. But I think that Mikey Eyssimont is someone who is slowly but surely playing his way to an increase in time. And I think it's a matter of time before he gets a tryout on that second line. And it might involve him switching up positions. It might be a little bit of an adjustment for Mikey. But I think it's something that the Lightning should consider, because his speed can really open things up, especially when you have some of the offensive talent that the Lightning have in their first 2 lines. I think that Eyssimont is someone that could really benefit from playing with more experienced players and playing with more Lightning vets on a higher line. I'm not saying you do that today. I'm not saying you do that on Saturday, but I'm saying that I would just like to see more of Mikey Eyssimont on the ice over the course of the season. So he's still kind of getting back from injury. That is definitely true. But I think that he could be the next guy on the Lightning angling his way for line promotion. And now the Lightning are going to be angling for a win against the Washington Capitals after a tough home loss against Minnesota. Washington has won 5 straight, and the Lightning have lost 3 of their last 4. Who will come out on top? We'll talk about Lightning Caps, the next home game, when we return. I am not a big sports bettor, but I know that most of my friends use FanDuel when they bet on games, and it's because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200. You heard that right. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's a great deal, and that is FanDuel.com. The Capitals are slightly favored over the Tampa Bay Lightning, but the odds could be in the Lightning favor when the home game commences on Saturday. You can check out odds and so much more on FanDuel.com. So next up is the Washington Capitals, a team that started off kind of slow, but started a win streak after a win over the Vegas Golden Knights just a couple days before the Lightning got a win over the Vegas Golden Knights. And the big story with the Capitals this year is obviously Alex Ovechkin's chase to Wayne Gretzky, and I'm sure the Tampa Bay Lightning want no part of that. And that is going to be a big key to the game. It's just bottle up Ovechkin. I mean, he is one of the best players to ever pick up a stick, and he has just an absolute rocket of a slap shot. So I think the Lightning just need to know where Ovechkin is on the ice at all times. And for the Tampa Bay Lightning, I mean, the defense needs to tighten up. I'd love to see Vasilevsky get back on track. I mean, this is a guy, Jonathan Davis said it yesterday. I've been saying it all preseason. Vasilevsky has to be a Vezina candidate for the Lightning to succeed. And I think that he can be a Vezina candidate. At his best, Vasilevsky is one of the best goalkeepers in the entire NHL. And it's frustrating for Tampa to see a guy that you'd think would be the surest part of their defense and maybe even their entire team. But the last couple games, Vasilevsky has let up more goals than you'd expect. I mean, since the Lightning's last home win against Vegas, he has not let up fewer than 4 goals in a game. He let up 1 goal in each of the first 2, then 5 goals in a 5-4 loss to Ottawa after a 4-3 win over Vegas. 4 goals against Toronto before he was taken out in the second period, and then another 4 goals against the loss against Minnesota in yesterday's loss. And I am always a believer in the importance of goalies. I think it's the most important position on the ice, and a hot goalie or cold goalie can really make or break your season. And frankly, Vasilevsky's cold right now, and that needs to change for the Tampa Bay Lightning to have success. And it's going to be against a team that likes to go across the ice to Ovechkin, who will just wait in one of the face-off circles for his opportunity to one-time one of his famous slap shots in the net. And that is something that the Lightning just can't let happen. So I'd like to see a bigger game from Andrei Vasilevsky, because I really think that can have a snowball effect. Regardless of the play of your defense, if your goalkeeper is in the net and is just a brick wall, like we have already seen from Vasilevsky a couple of times this season and many, many more times in his illustrious Lightning career, that can, give an extra motivation to the team. It can help the team maybe be a little bit more aggressive on offense and work for some tougher chances with, a big-time goalie in the net like Vasilevsky. And a hot goalie can, I think, really have a snowball effect on the entire team. So I think most importantly for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Andrei Vasilevsky needs to be at his best against the Washington Capitals so they can try and stop this lead and get things back on track before Steven Stamkos makes his return to Amalie Arena. And Vasilevsky, I don't want to say it's been his fault for these last couple of losses, because it hasn't been. I mean, it's a team game, and the Lightning still need to do a better job of capitalizing on the power play, minimizing some penalties, because especially in the last couple of games, we have seen a good chunk and the opponent getting multiple power play opportunities, and frequently that's getting turned into goals, and obviously that's what you're trying to prevent. So the power play continues to be a sticking point for Tampa. They have the guys to score on the power play, but it just really looks like they're missing Stammer on that power play. So just someone has to step up. Doesn't matter what line they're on. And right now, it looks like the second line is starting to do that. Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli have been two of the best players for Tampa all season. If the only player maybe having a better year on the offensive side of things is Nikita Kucherov, and that's what you expect from your star player. So I'd like to see Kucherov just keep doing what he's doing and, take a bit more control of the game. I think Lightning need to put the ball in his stick a bit more, let him, get his playmaking going. And just, I think, Nikita Kucherov staying this hot can only be good for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So just keep on feeding him, and I think good things are going to happen. I'd really like to see a Conor Geekie goal. I think he is out for blood. I think he's going to be out for blood after he hit the top of the crossbar in a one-time shot attempt, clearly beat the goalkeeper for Minnesota. But, unfortunately that puck didn't go in, and he's so close. It just seems like each game Geekie gets closer and closer to finding pay dirt. And I think that this could be the game. I think that Conor Geekie is poised to get his first NHL goal. And I'd like to see it come against the Capitals. I think a goal like that with a young player that his teammates have already kind of rallied around in some ways, I think putting him on the score sheet, getting that monkey off your back, the first goal for an electric offensive player like him, could spark something for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, they're really rallying around that rookie. And I think that Conor Geekie stuff in the stat sheet can help. Keep him on that second line and give the second line more time. Hagel and Cirelli have been so strong. And, we talked about Kucherov getting a lot of those clutch moments, but in these past couple of games, it's been Hagel scoring and it's been Cirelli dishing when the Lightning needed a goal. And, feed the hot hand once again. Hagel, Cirelli, Kucherov, these are guys that are just on fire right now for Tampa. And I think getting the most out of their offensive game can only help the Lightning. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think this is going to be a high scoring affair between the Lightning and the Capitals, and we might even have a shootout. Not the overtime shootout, just, the barn burner, whole lot of goals, whatever you want to call it. But I think that the Lightning are going to get that goal from Geekie, and that is going to help set this team back on track. I think that I'd like to see the Lightning win. I do think Ovechkin is still going to get a goal. That is pretty much inevitable. He's on the road to becoming the most prolific goal scorer in NHL history. And he might get his goal. And I think, sometimes you're just going to have to let that happen for a star player like that. And even if you don't let it happen, he'll just take it from you. So that is something the Lightning have to key on. But I think that Tampa can still pull it out. I don't know if Vasilevsky is going to get back to the normal games we see from him just yet. But I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game, and I'm going with a 5-4 Lightning win. Please make sure to drop your predictions in the comments or on social media. I'll be at the game on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Tampa Bay Lightning try and get out of this funk that they're in. So hopefully this weekend will bring the end to the Lightning's micro skid, but that is it for today's show, and I want to thank all of you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen today. Now for your second listen make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. It'll make you into a fantasy expert and give you the edge over your league mates as you get daily tips from Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you all for tuning in once again. My name is Josh Sperber. Hope all of you have a great weekend, and go Bolts.